All right, solar graph line channels, communicational levels, protocol and inference, and position locations of data streams, roll calls, highline inference. We're going to go through that position location every single day, highline inference, because there's a lot more people coming in position location to its provision. We really have to get everybody into the power line centers and calculation, know exactly what you're doing when you come into the galactic school. Okay, getting into all line centers, who you are, why you're here, and all line conditions, right? Setting up all levels of your data streams, your data divisions, your calculations, your clocking centers, your ground position locations, getting off position line interference. I've been very busy, so have you. I mean, this is a true understanding coming all levels of you through memory. This is about discipline. Okay, this is about chain of command, what to do, what not to do, what to see in that calculations. Grounding is number one in the mind system, especially when you come into my school. So when you come into that line center, it helps you and always informs. Now in calculations, you just focus on yourself when you're in school, all right? No chit chatting on this line, no chit chatting on that position locations. If you have any questions or comments, you can go through Monday and Wednesday. We held Zooms, position location 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Check your time zone, that high system, okay? Also, too, I'm coming into my own brand. Communication, obviously, my center, so it's coming into all system locations. For example, see? AW Space, Space-Time Creator. All right. So there's a lot of things that are coming on hand, right? It's becoming your own abundance. Mmm. Yummy. So when you guys come more of yourself, I really want you to understand what you're here for. Okay. It's kind of like a little quiz, a little test, knowing exactly, I know my purpose in life. Well, that's great. Let's get started. What do you want to do? A lot of people don't have a clue what they're doing. And they get up in the morning and they're working at a job that doesn't reside with them. And where does it resemble you in any position locations? So every time you look in the mirror, you're not looking at yourself anymore. You're just looking at a reflection. So it's important you understand that you're seeing you and nobody else. Okay. And that's all connections to all levels of an illusion. Right. So every time you get in the morning, every time you look at that mirror, you start seeing you more through calculation. Okay. I know this is very hard for everybody, but it does have a payoff. It's very powerful when you come into your own abundance. And the thing is, when you see yourself changing and you see this come in, this is where it comes really powerful. You get more position locations to its connections. And this helps you on all ways and forms because it helps you and it helps everybody else. But you really, really have to integrate your system. There's no separation unless you allow to separate your system locations or anything in that position. You don't want to bring anybody in your circle line and anything in that position locations because it doesn't help you in any way and form. It defeats the purpose of why you're here. Okay. So it's important you understand who you are, where you came from, why am I here, what happens next. Whenever you have time, it's kind of like the pros and cons. This is going to help you out more because I really want you to understand that the school provides you guidance. And that's what structure does. It gives you balance. It gives you discipline. It gives you how to commit yourself to yourself. You don't have to prove things to me or my team in any way and form. You have to prove it to yourself, right? Because without discipline, everybody would be running their own system. Like I said, everything needs to have balance. Okay. And these things, all levels, its connections to it's yin and yang. Okay. 5-10 minutes, we'll get started. All right, so let's go through the data street position location, solar text line centers, get these centered Scots, line center interference. Max, how's it going? All right, so after you guys finish the class system, we'll go into revamping. So it's kind of like cooling down, all right? So it's kind of like going really high and then you're just eventually coming down, right? So cooling down is like being on a treadmill, right? You're cooling down 5-10 minutes and then you turn off the track. So it's a lot more fun. What you're doing is you're getting ready for the next day, which is already set in signal. Sometimes you get graph interference of 24 signals, 48, 72, 144, right? So the faster you wind cycles your position location to all direction line system, it opens all line position locations to your calculations, right? Knowing exactly what you're getting through its information through hologram, right? It's a structure of view. Okay, so you have to learn how to use more levels of your data streams when you're getting connections, how to use it through your third eye, your realms, your travels, or your indications to a scepter. Okay, so all right, Janie, how's it going? Holly's going. Larry, how's it going? Kimmy, how's it going? Jill, how's it going? Don, how's it going? Terry, how's it going? Airbender, how's it going? Ambi, how's it going? Sammy, how's it going? Gypsy, how's it going? Lindsay, how's it going? Pam, how's it going? Michael, how's it going? Johnny, how's it going? All right, so you guys are setting up your energized line centers. Entering S card, great. Excellent. Okay, we got a little bit of instability here. It's going to come back in track center. It's getting ready in line center line interference, knowing exactly how to communicate the assist locations, but it's set up its position already through clocking, knowing it's already done through its equation line centers. All right, shortly it's going. Taryn, how's it going? And Esther, EG, squad unit, Tara. Okay, Jill, thank you for the grounds. Everybody has to set these things up, and it's all calculated to modify LLs of you. While you track line center interference, you know exactly every time you get up in the morning, you know you're in the male and the female aspects of you to travel. Okay? So coming into calculation line system. All right. So it's important you understand what you're doing. Okay, so we're going to go through white graph line rotation. Now I'm going to automatically set up the graph centers, and I'm going to travel extremely fast. Code signals are already set up as their locations. All right, so we're going to have 4 plateaus, high line, center line, and rotation calculations. It's going to be a little bit more confusing to a high in rotation. You have to understand how to calculate its modification system, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, calculation modification line centers in all levels. Comes in information line, see? Graph line channels, rotation system, calculation line conditions, XD1000 comes in, scans its high line center to all levels of travels its location to its grounds. All right, opens all signals. It's getting a little bit more confusing. Now it opens up a more of a window high line rotation system in calculations. See the intelligence coming in, right? High channel, its high line center in high rotation, coming in modification line conditions. See that through channel? There's the intelligence. Coming in interference line condition levels, okay? Core system direction of time. Sun's in the high line center, location of low graph line rotation. Calculation modification to its system. All right, here's the sun position location, where it is the direction. Okay, the moon is offline rotations on the east line conditions. You guys have to learn how to use your graph line centers in north or south and east in position locations. Now, this is where we get the solar system line rotation to its calculations. Forcing connection line centers in position, right? Modification to its center. Now, it's all set up through core line center, location of travel. Crew units, line position locations, all taking all line ground interference, perimeter security position locations, all that channel line centers in calculation. Squad unit line ones in position locations. So you guys are in high system locations of travel, okay? So as you're coming into the B line center and interference location, the TTA, position location E, high center interference line conditions, calculation, computer adaptation line rotation, it's all in position line center. Now my finger point location is setting code line setting locations of weaving and interference locations, all levels of crop circle line conditions. 3 line centers, 4 line position, 5 within system, 6 within activation, 7 within core, 2 within vector, 3 within system, 4 line centers, and 5 within division. Center position location is calculation line conditions. Streamline center and rotation system. Allocate high center line rotation levels, the GFL positions, to the rebellion. Communication lines to ascension gods. Communication cycle. Reset line centers of all ground interference location to its crop circle. Regeneration light center line conditions. So this is where we come into high center line interference locations into Saturn. Now Saturn set up position location. Flash drive interference, program setting, resetting line conditions of computer adaptation system locations. All right. Now, as it comes in high system, we come into Pluto. Pluto comes into really heating central line center rotation interference. It's program stable location to its calculation modification stream system. Okay. So as it comes in signal, there's going to be 4 line graph line rotations. Sonar lines coming in position locations. One at alpha, one at delta, one at theta, one is in beta, one's in mega communication system. Right? So it's all in signal in its rotation. Now I set the core line centers, you're automatically going to travel through signals. Here we go. Signal in the line, center line, and rotation interference, travel position location line conditions. All right, so the X2000 is coming into high fields, high rotation centers, all position locations, covering high center line conditions, securities, barriers, parameter line center locations of dynamic core line interference. In position line conditions, all levels of channels, all positional grounds into its position, right? Modification to its high line center, scanning its high line center interference. See, scanning. Center up its high rotation system. Calculation line conditions comes into a circle line, a communication system location of grounds. Opens all communication cycles, reset line conditions, all division location of attack to high system locations, calculations, right? So this is swirl line and rotation. Now the channel line center is off calculation lines. We're going to put it back in calculation modification to its circle. See how it's circling off? And then it comes back into high center interference. Okay, see it comes into all levels. So it's all line center interference locations. Recognize high line centers. Coming into coloration of light centers, heart reactor and division. Here's the heart. Calculation modification line conditions. Ooh-ah. 40 minutes, have fun. So it's set in signal through our line centers, roll call, communication, data sheet, high line center locations. All right, code signals are set up in position locations of crew units, squad units, 1 and 2 position line centers, the GFLs and rebellion, and everything through the Ascension God communication system. All right. Flash drive, Expeller, yeah, connection, sending theta codes. Yep. Knowing exactly what you're doing through your alpha channels, your beta communications, all levels of your theta communications, perception line centers, T perception line position locations, and all levels of a mega communication cycle. Reset line interference location to its heart reactor. Heart line center and line rotation interference line conditions, all levels of the structure. Holding all communication to its planetary line center and rotation system. So. Open to receiving codes. Okay, great. Excellent. Way to go, Jill. She's in signal position line centers. Sending you security codes. Heart balancing ready. Great. Thank you, Ambi, for changing Ascension God to your timelines. Let's see, I'm going to add signals here. Okay. Okay, Jenny, you're connected to a moderator. All right, great to see you guys in formations, knowing exactly what you're doing with your alliance. More laser one machines. Okay, so understand what you're doing through travel through all line center locations, guys. Code signal and all line center interference. Make sure you're in high position locations. Travel lines, secure lines, perimeters, all levels. Yeah. Make sure you guys are drinking your waters. All right. Yep, redirect. Very good. Steady. Yeah. And this helps you always informs knowing exactly what you're doing when you come into the school. It gives you a little bit more information through its alliance, especially when you come into higher connections of your system locations. But it's amazing how things are set up the graph, right? All right, so as you guys are going through that line connections, because remember, everything is done through its equation system, but getting roll calls of data sheets helps you out more than forms, right? Especially when you come to graph line channel, location, and position, all right? So we come in this line center. Try to understand what a graph is. What does a graph mean? Well, it's all position locations of you. How to use it is another thing, rotation system. So remember, everything you draw is all levels of travel. So once you get in that calculation, it's all about setting a perimeter, and it all comes in position locations of box channels communication system, right? So what are you protecting? You're protecting stuff that's in the line center of the center position, right? So you get the XT1000s come in, 2-line rotations. Always have backup communication line centers. Always scanning hive systems. Always scanning, right? So they crisscross each other, right? So they're protecting everything into their vector core, and they automatically set up their diamond center, size graph interference, right? So it closes off its signal in its position location to its direction. So it brings in into higher line center to its position locations of what you're directing to position locations. All right. So it's really important what you're doing with your perimeters and security lines, right? Because the chain of command is always in provision. I'm sure you understand that through all line centers. So I really want to get into calculations of galaxy. Galaxy is a lot of fun. This is something different, you know. So galaxy equals all line centers of solar systems. Okay. / systems. We got that calculations, right? So understanding how to use the connections all levels through weather communication, line communication, interference. So it's all about how to set position locations. See how it comes in channel? So it comes in a high center location. See? And this changes all levels in position location. You see how fast that is? See the intelligence? So it's amazing too, because you understand how to use the grounds, the powers, and the atmosphere line rotation, and this automatically comes into all calculations, right? To its intelligence, right? Grounds in position location to the center, flux capacitor, high channel line centers, dimensional interference. Dimensional interference comes on so many wave and cycles of galaxy because galaxy moves in so many level signals. So you can have a round position location here. You can have a round position location here. You can have a round location here and a round location here in position, right? Travel line centers. So once you come into rainbows, line and rotation line conditions, you can change the circle interference in coloration, right? Because the galaxy works in so much of DNA track centers, all right? It comes in calculation modification line conditions. Now you can streamline centers. I love doing the Fibonacci sequence. It's amazing how you come into round line interference location of space. So that's 3-line rotations. This automatically comes into. So it's all about packing it in to all 3 triangle line interference in position locations to 3 realms. Now those 3 realms are automatically in signal, set in position to the ground line center to its channel line interference. It programs locations. Now we can change the coloration line centers right to the sun line conditions into the center operation. Sun comes into high center of center location, right? So we center off here, we center off here, we center off here, right? There's an arrow pointing down. Comes the calculations. We come into our levels of a window. That window opens a high line signal in position line conditions. Higher channel line center interference. Program location use calculations. See how it travels? Now as it's traveling to high line rotation, it comes into a levels. Higher division tactic view, communication cycle, resetting line condition interference. Now this is where it comes into all line positions. Okay? Arrow here in position. You got an arrow here in position. All right, starting line conditions, right? So you can arrow up and you can arrow down. Okay? So that comes into high channel. And it can change the coloration line interference, right, to its provision. Let's say we go into the red line center. Okay, we got a triangle. Triangle's coming in. And then we come into high line center locations to the teleportation line stream. Now that line stream changes position locations, but you're putting higher formations of security lines. See the security line set? All right, as it's going in signal, we're going to go into the inner cross center line conditions of a new triangle position location of a pyramid. See that pyramid? Now that pyramid is going to travel through. It's got like a train track, but it travels through the high interference with the arrow directing its position of where it's going through direction. See that? Where it's going through direction. As it's channeling the high line center interference location, the galaxy interference position changes all portal line conditions, right? So you can channel from there So what happens is it disappears in position location, disappears, and then it reappears here in calculation, right? You set up another portal, position locations. So it's all about understanding how to change heat signature patterns, how to disappear high center line in your rotation calculations. So here's another portal location, right? Now the triangle line center is already set in position locations, but the center off its position location of its triangle has to understand the portal lines, okay? Because it's a galaxy interchange. Now galaxy interchange, are you going from inline center or are you going through outwind system? It's too confusing if you don't understand line conditions of all of the security measures. So coming into security measures, the triangle line interference in position locations travels through high rotation. So as it comes in, it goes outline center into another equation to another dimension line sys locations. This opens all communication cycles to reset line conditions to its triangle system from here to here. As it's traveling, it can go back into the center in its time position where it started. Okay, it opens all triangles communication system. It resets the line centers of galaxy communications surface. Now that opens up all line rotation into high level division. Okay, so when you come into divisions, you can change the triangles into new coloration path. Now this is more levels of singularity, the singulatory line and rotation line conditions, electrical light conditions. Changes position locations, all levels of computer adaptation cycle. Resets lines of data stream position. See? As it's in signal, it can travel again and do the same plateau, same triangle communication, same program setting, but I'm always moving forward. I'm never, ever moving back through thoughts. It's always going forward in travel. As it's traveling through, right, into a new coloration of time and space. It opens up higher level signal in its position location to its calculations, right? As it's traveling to Highline Center, we set up a new graph interference. Now that graph interference sets up a new roadway. That comes into communication line conditions in channel line center. See the roadway? See that? Mm-hmm. Set in signal, right? It's already an operation system. As it's calculating, the triangle force lines changes its position to its calculations. All right, this is where we come into green triangles of pyramids. Now, this is truly understand how to communicate to high-line channels and rotation interference, position location 2 is roll call. How you go into its high position location in its calculation, right? Traveling line, center line, rotation interference. More future integration line centers, the letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. It gets more complicated because now you're dealing with the galaxy interface lines. Once you calculate and modify all levels of your computer adaptation line center, you get into information locations of Tron interference. Okay, so where are we through division locations here? Yeah, I already did that, Ambi. Thank you. I'm way ahead of you. In protocol line, center line interference. Calculation line systems. Veronica, I'm going to add you as a moderator. All right. So how's everybody doing so far? The more you go in division tactic high centers, is extremely powerful when you get into more teleportation light communication system. Now it looks confusing, but it's all set up through Tron. Okay. So it's a beautiful thing when you're understanding tactic view and what you're seeing through division. That's good though, eh? It's a good logo. AW Space. You don't want to look at it too long, you get dizzy, but it's got SPACETIMECREATOR on the bottom. Really excited about it. So, yeah, I know there's a lot of confusion going on right now. So you guys just get back into your course. We set line conditions. Yeah, you guys are going through high lines of communications all levels. Teleportation lights, confusion. I can see that through just coming to your readjustment line conditions. Thank you, Ambi. Great. So bring in the ground sliders and position locations. Once you come into the Tron line centers, you're now into nanotechnology division. Nanotechnology division is extremely high line rotation interference. But it's really understand how to set up graph interference lines first. Right? It's all protecting tuber vision. But I just want to show you how you get into galaxy interface. It's a lot more fun because you have to understand weather patterns and communication cycles. If you set a course line and say galaxy goes this way, galaxy goes this way, galaxy goes this way, that's how galaxy works. It's constantly rotating, it's constantly rotating, it's constantly rotating, it's constantly rotating. That's the galaxy. It's constantly moving at so many level system. So if you're coming in calculations, you have to really understand how to go with the weather and not against the line conditions. So automatically you're scanning where you want to go, right? So you scan here, right? You can go right through in position, and that will directly right in position locations of where you need to go and out of a sequence location. Okay, because the galaxy goes in so many line centers of weather and so many extreme position line systems of weather connection, right? So it's really how to direct your positions on getting into the flow of everything to travel. Try to stand the ground line centers. Okay. So if you're in the ground position line centers, they're showing you so many structure interference, location is direction. Okay, you start with that, right? So you have the grounds. This is you on the grounds, right? And you realize that you're changing perception. Every time you change your perception, you change the grounds. Okay. So it's interesting too because you understand that every time you get up, you're going higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, right? So it's all about understanding this and this and this and this and this and this. See, you're traveling farther. That's what it is. You start, and then you come into this. Oh, look at that. Whoa. Okay. And then you go up. Now you're up, right? You're going through, right? So you're here and you're traveling finally. All right. So not only you stand the grounds, the powers, and the atmospheres, that's how I tell everybody position, location, line conditions, you're traveling for the first time into the atmosphere line. This is what happens when you get in the activation stream. Okay? You start traveling. Once you start traveling, then you stand up to set up the rainbow activation line streams. Okay? Got to protect yourself, right? When you're protecting yourself. So as you're protecting yourself, the line channel line interference in position locations, this is what it is, the calculation line conditions, 8 line channels interference, it gets smaller and smaller, but you're traveling faster and faster. Okay? So as you're traveling faster and faster, you realize, okay, your coloration channels change position location, line centers. Okay, it's going to higher line position location. There you are. All right? So it's all about understanding, oh, I'm going to change my security line defense. All right. All right, change your security line defense. Now you're going into red circle. All right, so you're traveling position locations. All right. You're in red, security. All right, so they know exactly who you are through visual location. You're traveling, right? You're security now, right? Let's say you change your throw pattern line center interference. That means you go into blue position, right? Changes blue position locations. Right? Traveling to blue, right? You can be all line colors. It's all up to you, but you have to be informed what's going on through intelligent locations. See the coloration change? So you can start off the rainbow line centers in recognition, or you can go through security, or you can go through your throw pattern line interference. Now, if you're going through your throw pattern, you have to understand the alpha position locations. Are you using alpha channels? Are you using delta waves? Are you using theta communication of teleportation lights, of teleportation line interference? Are you using the beta communication center, which is your alter states? Or are you using your omega channel communication center, up line center, interference location, and program position to its location line conditions? It's all levels of the box, position, location, center line. We said this before. I keep saying that through high center line interference. Pro location to its calculation. Knowing going and all levels of positions to a dimensional setting. See the door? All right, it's high signal, graph line centers, come into all position, location, line conditions. Amazing how you come into all line centers. Now you set up electrical line wall and communication of plasma line center, interference location of program setting of both line position locations. Channel is its online center, electrical light connections to its ceiling position location as panel communication line center, location of sun communication of the moon. High channel is rotation line center interference. Now the rotation line center changes position locations, ground interference location, electrical light connections, signal line position location line connections, right? I'll see that. So signal in position, signal in position, signal in position, 3 line track interference. Signal in position, signal in position, signal in position, 3 line center line position, 3, 3. 6 line communications, door line center interference locations, open round communication cycles, reset line, channel line, and rotation to dimensional lock. All right. Open all communication system, change coloration channel and position of the sun into the center. Always start with the high line center for changing graph. Always start in position location from the inner line, not the outer line. If you go from the inner line center locations, you're disrupting everything through channel. So that everything to position location changes hologram structure, interference location to Tron communication system. So when you're Tron position locations, this is you in high center, your electrical light. This is you, all right? That's you, right? You're coming in signal line interference, okay? So you got line connections all over the sun, okay? But this is offline position. So you got to bring that back in center position. So it accords its line center rotation, okay? Once it accords its rotation of time center, change the colorations of electrical light panels to its wall line center in position of 3 line positions and another 3 line in rotation calculation. Change coloration time. Single line in position, ground center position locations. Light signal into all center position of circuitry line center interference of wall communication systems, the ceiling line position. All right. So it's important to understand the balance of communications at all levels of you. Coloration panels, communication system, teleportation light streams, all level conditions. You come into a TV box line center, you got 3 position locations of channels. You got your energy, frequencies, and vibrations, right? Now, channeling position locations coming in high line center, right? Rotation line graph coming right through position locations of direction, okay? As you're going through direction line centers, you go into high position locations, all right? Kind of looks like a toaster. So it's knowing exactly what you're doing through calculation modification. So you see how it went into a box line center of a basic location of a center optical line center. I changed the line graph of its communication system. This is how you get into higher line center of Tron communication system locations, right? Graph channel communication cycles, reset line connections of communication system, right? This is the all line center locations when it comes into all system location, all right? As you come into higher line center, you have to learn how to use perspective and its connections, channel its high system locations. So you got a door record of time center in here, in position straight through, right through communications, right? Channel its high line center interference. Now you can come into triangulation to its position. See how the triangle comes in high center? High center and its high position locations come into all positions to your UFO. See the UFO? Comes in line channel, let's change coloration line stream. Let's go into rainbow activation line conditions, stream interference locations. There it is, right? As it comes in this position, it scans the center line conditions, right? See? There. So it rotates its signals. Signal and position locations, right? Redirects high center, calculation modification center. As it's going through its direction line rotation, it has its antenna. Okay, triangle force, high center interference. See? Again, comes into online center rotation to its sonar, setting sonar position of plateau communication centers. This is where you come into all levels of mega. Mega comes into a coloration pattern. So it sets a signal and position location. Sets the signals at position locations, redirect line centers. Now the X2000 comes into plateau. They get the call line. There it's coming in, right? Right in position location. High center line center. Modification to a system, right? So again, this is only if you're having problems, okay? If you don't know how to set up anything through Tron and interference location of calculation, modification, line condition, anything through graph line system. But the X2000 is there to help you, right? Through your alpha channels, your deltas, your thetas, your betas, your mega communication system. You have to really understand how to use the graph interference of its hologram structure, okay? So, all right. So adding to this light activation, a clean sweep, grounds on levels, focusing on setting, strengthening grounds, energy, everyone. Good. Great, great, great. Perfect. Guys are back online, back calculations. Decoys. Great. Light stream, river flow. Excellent. You guys are doing exceptionally well. Good job. Helps opposition locations calculations. So it gets more complicated when you go to higher level line center locations of the future. Okay. So knowing exactly what you're dealing with, guys, that's what you have to understand, right? Okay. So, yep, that's exactly it. Amy's in confirmation. Great. No, it's fantastic when you guys are understanding more. Uh-huh. Okay. Excellent. All that's, yep, great. It's great to see that. Okay, good. All right, so it's important when you're doing these travel alliance centers, you really know how to set up position locations or anything through sequencing calculations. Right, it's amazing. It's getting balance of everything through color. But I think it's amazing when you set things up through position from this, all through calculations of high and center alignments of this, right? It doesn't look like much, but it's all set up. But how to set things up is its provision location, its calculations, right? So, yeah, good. Confirmations already set in signal. Great. Fantastic. Yeah. Well, see, you guys are knowing what you're doing now. This is a learning process for everybody to understand these things, right? And that's what the school provides. It gives you a lot more frequency balanced communications. So it's all about understanding the connections when it comes into yin and yang. What does the yin and yang represent to you? What does it mean to you? How do I use it? And how to work it through my connections of my life. So it's all about balance. So, and that's all levels of you from your avatar. Okay. So great job, guys. Yeah, no, fantastic. Taking you guys out on a high line and rotation interference and position line conditions. All right. So you guys are coming down on high interference. All right. So going to back sequencing code line center locations, all line conditions. I'll bring them back in high force line interference location, crew units, squad units, high position location, 1 and 2 position locations, frequency channel line center, tower and time line and rotation interference. Micro and the ground line centers, close off border communication centers, and position airbender, radar line center rotations, everything distinction guides coming back and continuing line center interference, GFL to rebellion line center interference line conditions. Now you guys are back in signal, back in calculation, back in formation, back into the ground perception of high division. Congratulations. Okay. So it's amazing how to get out of these things to equation interference, right? So it's all about balancing track centers, balance line, center line rotations, to understand what your body is through the electrical light connections, right? So, but it's incredible when you travel. It's all about creating an anomaly and switching position locations of its direction. So it doesn't look like much when you're traveling through structure until you understand the structure. It doesn't matter what it looks like, but it's all through travel. Okay. So it's all about understanding, changing your coloration line centers, making sure your sun is in position, making sure your moon is, and all line center location of flux capacitor. So automatically you have the grounds. There's the ground interference. And you kind of look at it, you scan at it, right? So you scan at it right away. You scan at it, and then you know exactly what you're doing through travel position location of its direction. Right? Ooh-ah. Done through equation. So it's a lot more fun when you understand all line centers. Roguing communication, AWOL channels doesn't help the sequence. Anything to the avatar position opens all track centers of confusion locations. Right? So it's mostly understanding what you're doing through alliance when you come into the ground position locations to its maze. But it's important that you understand the size graph of its communication system. Time frequency, time lines. So you get in calculations of north, you get in calculations of west and east line in its position locations to its direction, right? It high channels its diamond core position location, all right? So you guys did a fantastic job. Congratulations. That was a lot of fun. All right, so no school tomorrow, Sunday, familiar day for me. I will go on TikTok for a bit. Other than that, you have any questions, let me know, okay? Great job, team. All right. Until I see you guys again. Adios.